I can clearly see that the majority of their movement was in their defensive half, which could show that maybe they aren't as comfortable on the offense. Whereas Performer 1 has a lot of movement mapped out defensively and offensively. Finally, another bit of information that was gathered from my research that shows Performer 1 moved a lot more than Performer 2 is the distance covered. Performer 1 clearly moved a lot more due to them covering 1,200 meters more than Performer 2. So now moving on to my first performance indicator for a small forward being the 2 pointers. Here you can see that Performer 1 obviously made a lot more 2 points and had a lot more attempts at 2 points, obviously having a total of 5 and making 3, so they had a 60% accuracy rate of making them. This could also link back to what I was just talking about now about Performer 1 being a lot more offensively aggressive, so they spent a lot more time in the offensive half of the court, meaning that they're obviously going to get a lot more opportunities to shoot 2s. So same with the 3-pointers as well. Performer 1 obviously made a lot more than Performer 2. So Performer 2 not even scoring a 3-pointer. Performer 1 did only score 1, but they had a total of 4, so that clearly shows again that they're really obviously a lot more attackive than Performer 2. Now moving on to the layups. The layups here we can see that yet again Performer 1 is being a lot more attackingly aggressive compared to Performer 2, because Performer 1 has a total of 6 layups compared to Performer 2 only having a total of 1 layup, but they only scored 1. So this is where notational analysis could get a bit tricky, because if you put that in a percentage now, you could be able to see that Performer 2 had 100% accuracy on layups, but really they only made 1, which is why, like I said previously on the slides, notational analysis could become a bit ambiguous and a bit dodgy, because yes, they made a total of 1 out of 1, which is 100%, but really they only made 1. Assists as well. Here we see Performer 1 made 3 more assists than Performer 2 in the data that I collected. Again, possibly showing that Performer 1 is looking to get on the attack more. Finally then we have offensive and defensive rebounds. So here we see player 1 and player 2 both making the same amount of defensive rebounds, which makes a bit more sense for player 2. I would have thought that player 2 might have made a bit more defensive rebounds due to, from looking at the schematic previously, the amount of time they spent in the defensive half. I would have thought they'd make a bit more. But now moving on to offensive rebounds, it makes more sense, because player 2, from the schematic that I viewed in the other slide, it showed they weren't on the attack as much, which clearly shows here by them having 0 offensive rebounds compared to player 1, who had a total of 4 offensive rebounds. So what I picked out here massively from the 2 players is that player 1, due to them having a greater movement across the whole area of the court, their attacking performance indicators are a lot higher than player 2, who spent a lot more time almost camping in their defensive half, which meant, as you can see here, their layups, their assists, their 3-pointers and their offensive rebounds aren't anywhere near player 1's. So finally then, I made a hypothesis that the taller the players are in all of the people that I analysed, the more defensive rebounds that they would have. But from this set of data, I can come to the conclusion that someone's height did not have any effects on the amount of defensive rebounds completed in the game I watched. So this is clearly proved by the p-value being above 0.5, which means that the evidence is weak against my hypothesis, and also the R value being just over 0, which shows that there's no real significance between height and defensive rebounds, which I thought it might be more towards 0.7 or 0.8, because I would have thought that the taller the players are, it means that they're more likely to be really being able to reach up and grab those defensive rebounds. But from the data I have collected here, it clearly shows that this is not the case.